But first, we have full coverage of the biggest news in Manhattan, Bill Snyder's retirement. We now go to Channel 8 sports anchor Austin Springer, who has more.
Although there was plenty of speculation about Coach Snyder's future with the team, when his retirement was finally announced, the community's response was filled with mixed emotions. Reporter Michaela Kitchen has the story.
The recent retirement announcement has been the topic of conversations throughout the community. After Coach Snyder's announcement, student Sherilyn E. says the retirement came as a surprise to her.
Wasn't really expecting it so soon, especially with the way the Iowa State game ended. Part of me kind of felt it was either going to go either way, but I was leaning towards him staying, so it was a surprise.
Coach Snyder's announcement was a topic of much discussion at this week's Manhattan Catbackers event. Member Tom Boyley says he applauds the coach's decision.
That was Coach's decision. He made that decision. And I applaud him for making what was a tough decision. I know it was hard for him.
Although he's now left the team, Coach Snyder will continue to have a lasting impact not only on the football team, but on the Manhattan community itself.
And everyone knows who Bill Snyder is, and it's just, he's like iconically K-State. Like, you can't go to K-State, you can't be in Manhattan without knowing who Bill Snyder is, and like his presence is just felt throughout the entire community.
I think he was wonderful for the university. He brought us something that we could not do on our own, and he did it for us. And what a marvelous person he is, and what a great asset to the university.
Fellow Catbacker Dallas Johnson says he's had season tickets every year since 1976 and saw the team's transformation.
So we've sat through a lot of games where there wasn't anybody winning, and so when he turned the program around.
As for the future of football in Manhattan, the community remains optimistic.
I think it's optimistic. I think Bill Snyder left a really good foundation for us to start it off of, and whoever comes in, I think he kind of has like big shoes to fill in a sense.
I have a great deal of faith in Gene Taylor, in President Myers and the others that will participate in that decision. I think they will go to great extent to find the right person.
In Manhattan, I'm Michaela Kitchen for Channel 8 News.
The power of sports is really quite fascinating, and the power of college football in college towns is probably one of the most interesting. I took time to evaluate what Bill Snyder and the football program brought not just to K-State, but to the entire city of Manhattan as a whole.
After a prestigious Hall of Fame coaching career, Bill Snyder has done more than just bring the Wildcat football team out of the dark. He's built an entire community around it. The Snyder era has brought a ton of school pride to both alumni and K-State students, and has created the family atmosphere both on the K-State campus and within the community of Manhattan.
I couldn't be more happy to be a K-State student, to be honest. I mean, the atmosphere that K-State students create here is amazing. Everyone's so kind to each other. You can talk to anybody, which I think is really hard to find at any other school. It's truly a family.
In almost a direct correlation, K-State enrollment has increased from 19,000 to almost 25,000 since Bill's start as the Wildcats head coach. The community has also benefited from the increased interest in fall Saturdays in Manhattan as well. In 1995, the number of hotel rooms available was approximately 600. Now, that number has more than doubled, meaning that business is better than ever, and more out-of-towners are finding their way to the Little Apple.
Through the 80s and 90s, annual retail sales were consistent at around $400 million. Today, that number has skyrocketed to $1 billion, all thanks to the man right behind me.
Kelly Stewart, a former K-State sports writer, discussed the significance of the type of character that Bill Snyder had as head coach.
I know Bill Snyder had a huge, just his character as a person and the way he was with working with donors or working with other people. People loved him, and that made people want to give to K-State because he made it that place that it really was about family.
Thanks to Bill, the Little Apple isn't quite as little as it used to be anymore.
The progress of the K-State program under Snyder may have been obvious on the field, but what does that progress look like statistically? We broke it down into a couple of numbers. Over the course of 107 years, K-State has won a total of 472 games. Snyder was head coach for only 27 years, but the team earned 215 wins during that time, almost half of the program's total wins. The team has won 6 conference championships, and a third of those titles were all thanks to Bill Snyder. When you factor in defeats, Snyder's team has a win percentage of 67%. Compare that to just 35% outside of Snyder's tenure. The team's performance under Snyder's guidance earned K-State a spot in the AP Poll's top 25 rankings for 108 consecutive weeks between 1995 and 2001. All of that success transferred into enthusiasm. Before Snyder turned the program around, home game attendance averaged 15,000 fans. At its lowest, attendance reached lower than 11,000. But in 2014, the Wildcats had 13 consecutive sold-out home games in a stadium that holds more than 50,000 fans. Snyder's impact on the football program has touched every part of K-State. Julia Jorns has more on his storied career.
Bill Snyder was hired in 1989 when K-State was on the verge of becoming a Division II school. Many would call the success that Snyder brought to the program as the greatest turnaround in college football history. In 2016, in a game against in-state rival Kansas, he became the 26th active head coach to reach 200 wins. Kelly Stewart is a former writer for K-State Athletics and said the impact Bill Snyder has made through his coaching career shows in how others remember him.
I also got to interview a lot of people he coached with, like Bob Stoops, Brett Bielema, and just to hear how these other super successful coaches in the business really admired and really cared about him too. That was also really, really cool. He just has made such a huge impact.
After a brief 3-year retirement, Bill Snyder returned to his head coaching position to help lead the K-State football program to success. 3 seasons without Snyder, the team went 17-20. Over the next 10 seasons, the team reached a bowl game 8 straight times. Joel Muldrup is a student who has grown up watching Snyder coaching football on the sidelines and turning the program into one that people recognize.
We were able to not only beat Big 12 teams, but like I said, get #1 overall rankings, which is incredible as a coach. And so he had a huge impact, not just on K-State, but as college football as a whole, just because of that accomplishment that he had.
In his 27 years as head coach, Snyder has led the K-State football program to 215 wins and 2 Big 12 titles. In Manhattan, Julia Jorns, Channel 8 News.
As the dust has settled from the news of Bill Snyder's retirement, Kansas State is on the search for a new head football coach. K-State has hired Ventura Partners, a search firm, to help conduct the search for a new head coach. Among the candidates are Seth Luttrell from North Texas. Luttrell took over at UNT in 2016, his first head coaching job after spending 10 years as an offensive coordinator at various schools. When Luttrell took over at North Texas, they were one of the worst Division I football programs. Since then, he has led the Mean Green back-to-back 9-win seasons and will look for a school record with a 10th win in the New Mexico Bowl in 2 weeks. One of the other hot names is former K-State defensive coordinator Jim Leavitt. Leavitt spent 12 years as head coach at South Florida. He has also been a defensive coordinator at various schools and is currently at Oregon. Other mentioned in the search for a new head coach are North Dakota State head coach Chris Killman and Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Variables. We now go back to Brianne and Adam.
Thank you, Austin.